Every night for 6 months, Amelia Hartmann, CEO of Hartmann Luxe Design, dreamed of a woman. Same face, same voice, same electric presence that made her wake up breathless, the sheets tangled around her legs like an afterthought. She never saw her name, never heard it, but the woman's eyes, deep, stormy, impossible to forget, haunted her waking hours. Her board called it stress. Her assistant called it overwork. Her therapist called it a manifestation of longing. Amelia didn't care what they called it. She just wanted it to stop, or happen for real, whichever came first. On a rainy Monday morning, Amelia stepped into the sleek, glass elevator of her company's Manhattan headquarters, coffee in one hand, phone in the other. Her sharp navy suit was immaculate, not a hair out of place. She had meetings, contracts, a brand expansion to Milan. What she didn't have time for was a ghostly obsession with a figment of her subconscious. Until the doors opened, and she walked in, the woman from her dreams.
Real.
Standing just a few feet away by the reception desk, holding a folder, smiling nervously at Charlotte, her executive assistant. Amelia froze mid-step. Her world narrowed. Sound became distant. The hallway, the staff, even the beeping of the elevator, everything blurred into silence. Only her remained. That face. Those eyes. That impossible familiarity that struck like lightning and left the air charged between them. The woman looked up. Their eyes met. A flicker of something passed across her face. Confusion? Recognition?
No. Couldn't be.
Amelia finally moved, her heels echoing like thunder against the marble floor as she walked past them, forcing her heartbeat into something resembling control. "Good morning, Miss Hartmann," Charlotte greeted, oblivious. "Your new design assistant is here. I'll get the introduction later." Amelia cut in sharply, not daring to look back. Have her shadow Jasmine today. She retreated into the elevator, without waiting for a response, jabbing the button for her floor. Doors closed. She exhaled like she hadn't breathed in minutes. This wasn't happening. It couldn't be her. She had imagined her, dreamed her, created her in some desperate corner of her mind. But Amelia had spent 6 months trying to forget her. Now the universe had dropped her into her office, like some cosmic joke. Her fingers trembled as she reached for her phone. She had a full schedule, a press preview, a call with Paris, a new showroom to approve. Her life didn't allow space for fantasies. And yet, all day, she found herself drifting, thinking of that gaze, of the gentle slope of her neck, the memory of a voice she'd never heard, but somehow knew. Late afternoon brought a knock on her office door. Before she could respond, Charlotte poked her head in. "Quick update, boss. The new girl? She's amazing. Jasmine's already in love with her sketches. Wants to steal her for the high jewelry line." Amelia barely registered the words. "What's her name?" she asked, casually, like it didn't matter. "Celeste," Charlotte replied. "Celeste Monroe." The name sank into her chest like a stone. Celeste. Of course. Amelia didn't sleep that night. She didn't dream either, because the dream had walked into her office and called itself Celeste. Amelia avoided the design floor for 2 days. She told herself it was coincidence, that she had meetings elsewhere, that her time was better spent with legal or finance or strategy. But deep down she knew she was hiding from Celeste Monroe, from the way her presence made her blood hum like a low-voltage current under her skin, from the way her name tasted dangerous when Amelia whispered it alone in her penthouse at night. Celeste. She imagined saying it in every tone, stern, breathless, tender, angry. She imagined it whispered against skin, growled against a kiss. She imagined too much, and she hated it. On Wednesday morning she caved. She needed to see her. Just once. Just to settle the obsession with reality, to prove that she was just another employee, just another talented designer with a pretty face. She took the stairs down instead of the elevator. No reason. Just impulse. Her heels were silent on the polished concrete as she walked through the open design studio, minimalist, sun-drenched, filled with sketchboards, textiles, and quiet focus. And there she was. Celeste stood by the fabric table, bent slightly over a palette of rich silks, her dark red hair swept into a messy knot that revealed the long curve of her neck. She wore a cream blouse tucked into high-waisted trousers, simple but somehow devastating. She was laughing soft, melodic, the kind of laugh that wrapped around the ribs and pulled. Emilia stood still, watching. One of the junior designers looked up and noticed her. Whispers started. Heads turned. Celeste glanced up at last. Their eyes locked. Something flickered between them again. Not recognition. Not just attraction. Something older. Something unspeakable. Celeste straightened slowly. For a long moment, they said nothing. Just stared. "Miss Hartman," Celeste said finally, her voice low, velvet smooth. "I didn't think I'd see you down here." Emilia stepped forward, careful to keep her posture immaculate. "Just checking progress. Jasmine said your sketches were promising." "You don't believe her?" Celeste asked with a hint of a smile. "I prefer to form my own impressions." Emilia's gaze lingered on the open sketchpad by Celeste's side. It was breathtaking, clean, elegant lines, a bold reinterpretation of one of their signature silhouettes. But more than that, it felt personal, like a piece of emotion captured in ink. "This one's not for any project yet," Celeste said quietly, noticing her stare. "It just came to me one night, in a dream." Emilia's heart skipped a beat. "A dream?" "Yes," Celeste said, her eyes fixed on hers. "Strange, right?" She felt so real. I couldn't stop drawing her. A long silence stretched between them, charged and heavy. Then Emilia pulled back, clearing her throat. "We don't normally allow personal sketches during work hours." "Noted," Celeste replied, her voice even but her eyes unreadable. "I'll adjust." Emilia turned, walked away with practiced elegance, but every step felt like friction against something unraveling inside her. That night, she couldn't focus. She couldn't read.
Couldn't think.
She sat on her sofa with a glass of wine untouched beside her, staring out at the city, replaying that conversation again and again. She felt so real. Who?
Me?
It couldn't be. The dreams weren't mutual. That wasn't possible.
Right?
The next morning, Charlotte entered her office with her usual brisk energy. "Quick note before your 10 a.m., she said. "HR finalized Celeste Monroe's file. Want me to forward it?" "No," Emilia said too quickly. "I mean, just give me the printed copy."
"Sure."
Charlotte left the folder on her desk. Emilia stared at it for a long time before opening it. Birth date, education, former employers, portfolio. Nothing alarming, except one line, barely noticeable. Under emergency contact, Celeste had written, "No one." Emilia's fingers tightened around the folder. No one? How could someone so magnetic, so quietly brilliant, have no one? She didn't know why it bothered her, but it did. Deeply. That night, the dreams didn't come, and that somehow made everything worse. Friday brought a company cocktail event. Nothing extravagant, just an internal mixer, a small celebration of a new product line. Emilia rarely stayed long. She showed her face, gave her speech, mingled politely, and left. But this time, when she stepped into the softly lit rooftop garden of the Hartman building, her eyes searched for someone before she even realized it. She saw her by the bar, in a deep emerald dress, simple and devastating.
Celeste.
Their eyes met. Again, and the world tilted. This time, Emilia walked straight toward her. No hesitation. "I didn't expect you here," she said. "I wasn't sure I'd come," Celeste replied, turning to face her fully. "Crowds aren't really my thing. Neither are mine. Yet here we are." A beat. Then another. Music played softly behind them. Laughter filled the air. Champagne shimmered in tall glasses. "Dance with me," Celeste said suddenly. It wasn't a question. Emilia blinked. "Excuse me?" "One dance," she said, stepping closer. "Unless the CEO doesn't dance with her employees." Emilia knew she should say no. Knew it would blur a line already dissolving too quickly. But then Celeste's hand touched her wrist, light, tentative, curious. And every thought she had scattered like ashen wind. "One dance," Emilia said. "Just one." Celeste smiled, and Emilia knew, in that exact second, she was lost. The world dissolved as Emilia stepped into Celeste's arms. Music swelled faintly behind them, a mellow jazz tune no one seemed to be paying attention to, but it filled the space between them like a secret. Celeste's hand found Emilia's waist, warm through the fabric of her suit. Her other hand laced with Emilia's, fingers brushing skin with a gentleness that felt more intimate than anything Emilia had experienced in years. Neither of them said a word. They just moved. Slowly. Tightly. As if the rhythm wasn't coming from the music, but from something older pulsing between their chests. Celeste looked up at her with that unreadable gaze, half teasing, half something else, something Emilia wasn't ready to name. "You dance like someone who's used to control," Celeste murmured. Emilia's lip twitched, almost a smile. "I am. It must be exhausting." Emilia's eyes narrowed slightly. "You say that like you know me." "No," Celeste said, tilting her head. "I say that like I see you." That did something to her. Something dangerous. Emilia pulled back gently as the song ended, but Celeste didn't let go right away. Her fingers lingered. So did her eyes. "Thank you," Emilia said, her voice steadier than she felt. "For the dance? For making me forget myself." She walked away before Celeste could respond, retreating into the shadows of the rooftop like a woman escaping a fire. Which, in a way, she was. Back in her penthouse, Emilia paced for an hour, her mind a war zone. This wasn't how things worked. Not for her. She didn't lose control. She didn't get drawn into fantasy. And she certainly didn't dance with women who appeared in her dreams and then showed up in her company as if fate had a twisted sense of humor. But it was more than attraction. It was the way Celeste spoke to her, looked at her, stood too close but never overstepped. The way she made Emilia feel seen. Not as a CEO. Not as a symbol of success. As a woman. And that was the most dangerous thing of all. Monday came. Emilia arrived earlier than usual, needing the silence of the building before the day swallowed her whole. She took her coffee black, stared out at the skyline, and tried not to wonder if Celeste was thinking about that dance too. Charlotte knocked. "You have a private review of the high jewelry sketches in 15. Jasmine requested you personally." Emilia didn't ask why. She already knew, and she wasn't ready. But she nodded. 15 minutes later, she entered the design conference room and froze. Jasmine was there, seated with 2 junior designers. And so was Celeste. She looked up as Emilia entered, her expression unreadable. Jasmine launched into her usual pitch, presenting new pieces with passion and fire. But Emilia couldn't focus. Not with Celeste sitting across from her, not with the memory of her hand on her waist, her breath so close. "This one," Jasmine said, pointing to a striking necklace sketch. "Celeste designed it. It's already causing whispers in Paris." Emilia leaned in. The piece was bold and sensual, curves that suggested movement, tension, desire. She looked up at Celeste. "What inspired this?" "A feeling," Celeste said simply, "of restraint." Hey, if you're enjoying this story, go ahead and drop a like to help us grow even more. And let me know in the comments, on a scale from 0 to 10, what score would you give this story so far? Your feedback makes all the difference. And longing. The air shifted. Emilia's chest tightened. "It's effective," she said, her voice carefully neutral. "You'll lead the prototype team for it." Celeste gave a quiet nod. Jasmine smiled wide. The meeting ended. People filtered out. But Celeste stayed behind. "Was that hard for you?" she asked softly. "Giving me the credit?" Emilia bristled. "You earned it." Celeste tilted her head. "You keep pushing me away, Miss Hartmann. But you keep watching, too." Emilia's spine straightened. "We're at work. There are boundaries." "I know. But it doesn't make it any less true." A pause. Then Celeste stepped closer, slow, deliberate. "You dreamed about me, didn't you?" The question hit like thunder. Amelia's pulse roared in her ears. What did you say? You heard me, Celeste whispered. That's why you look at me like that. That's why you knew me before you knew my name. Amelia's voice came out tight. You're imagining things. Maybe, Celeste said, not looking away. But maybe I've been dreaming about you, too. She walked out before Amelia could respond. Amelia stood frozen, breathing hard. The control she wrapped around herself like armor had begun to splinter. And deep down, she wasn't sure she wanted to fix it. Amelia had mastered the art of control long before she ever stepped into a boardroom. She could slice through mergers, navigate lawsuits, dissolve partnerships, all without flinching. But none of that prepared her for the way her hands shook the moment Celeste walked out of that conference room. You dreamed about me, didn't you? The words echoed louder than the click of her heels down the marble corridor. She hadn't answered. She couldn't, because it was true. And that truth was beginning to peel her open in ways she couldn't contain. That evening, Amelia sat alone in her penthouse, lights dim, a half-drunk glass of wine sweating in her hand. The city glittered around her, but her eyes were lost in the nothingness outside her window. She thought of Celeste's voice, low and sure. Thought of her gaze, like she was stripping Amelia down layer by layer until there was nothing left but want. Amelia hadn't touched another woman in over 2 years. Not since the end of her last carefully hidden relationship, a love that had burned quietly, in secret, until it had withered from neglect. She had told herself she didn't need romance anymore. Only vision, control, purpose. But now Celeste had walked in, uninvited, impossible, and Amelia didn't know what she needed anymore. The next day, Amelia was reviewing reports when Charlotte entered, tablet in hand. Quick note, Celeste requested time in the prototype room this week. Wants to be hands-on with the new necklace design. Approved, Amelia said too quickly. Charlotte paused. You've been different lately. Excuse me? Less cold. A little distracted. That's not a criticism. Just an observation. Amelia didn't respond. Charlotte smiled, then left. That afternoon, Amelia did something uncharacteristic. She went down to the prototype room. It was quiet, all machinery humming in low tones, lit softly by a long skylight. Celeste stood at the center, bent over a velvet panel covered in unset gems. She wore a plain black dress under a white lab coat, gloves on, tweezers in hand. Focused, elegant, breathtaking. Amelia didn't speak. She watched instead, letting herself drink in the woman in front of her. The grace, the calm intensity. Celeste finally noticed her. You watching me again, Miss Hartmann? Amelia stepped closer, voice quiet. Should I stop? No, Celeste didn't smile. She just looked at her, as if waiting for Amelia to let something slip. You came down here for a reason. I came to check the design. You approved it already. Amelia exhaled, then circled the table, careful not to touch. You're precise. So are you. You take your time. So do you. Amelia met her gaze. Why are you doing this? Doing what? Looking at me like that. Celeste took off her gloves, setting them aside slowly. Because I can't stop. The silence between them crackled. Amelia's heart pounded. Celeste walked around the table, closing the space between them, but didn't touch her. Say something, she whispered. Tell me to leave. Tell me this is over. Amelia opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Celeste moved closer. You feel it too. I know you do. Amelia backed into the table behind her. Celeste stopped inches away, her breath warm against her cheek. I shouldn't, Amelia murmured. But you do. Celeste's voice was softer now, dangerous in its gentleness. I've wanted you since the first second I saw you, even before I knew why. Her hand hovered near Amelia's hip, not touching, waiting. Amelia closed her eyes. Her walls were crumbling fast, and all the reasons she shouldn't want this, shouldn't want her, were becoming harder to remember. Say it, Celeste whispered. Amelia opened her eyes slowly. I dreamed of you, she said, for months. The confession hung between them, raw and real. Celeste inhaled sharply. I knew it, she said, voice trembling slightly now. I felt it. I thought I was going insane. Emilia nodded once, her voice low. Maybe we both are. Finally, her hand moved. She touched Celeste's waist, lightly, as if testing the reality of her body. Celeste leaned forward, lips close enough to kiss, but didn't close the distance. If I kiss you, she said, I won't stop. Emilia's breath caught. Then don't start. Celeste smiled, small and knowing. Too late. Her mouth met Emilia's like a promise, slow, deep, consuming. The kiss wasn't soft. It was desperate. Months of tension collapsing into a single point of heat. Emilia pressed back, fingers gripping Celeste's coat, lips parting as she surrendered to something she no longer had the strength or desire to fight. When they finally pulled apart, Emilia's lipstick was smudged. Celeste's pupils were blown wide. Neither of them spoke for a long moment. Then Emilia whispered, This changes everything. Good, Celeste said. Because I don't want things to stay the same. Emilia didn't answer. She just kissed her again. Emilia didn't sleep. Not because of insomnia, or work, or even the city's usual hum that slipped through the windows of her penthouse, but because every time she closed her eyes, she could still feel Celeste's mouth on hers. She could feel the press of her body, the way her fingers had trembled ever so slightly against her waist, like she was afraid it would all disappear. It had been one kiss, and then another after that, until Emilia lost count, lost track of time, lost every rule she had ever followed to keep her life neat, separate, controlled. They hadn't gone further. Emilia had stopped it, barely. Her hand had cupped Celeste's cheek, her breath still ragged, and she had whispered, Not here. Celeste had nodded, not pushing, not demanding. Just standing there, her lips swollen, her voice soft when she said, Then tell me where. Emilia hadn't answered.
Couldn't. So she had left.
Not in anger, not even regret, but in panic. She had spent years mastering her image, curating every inch of her professional and personal world to be untouchable. And now it was all unraveling because of one woman. One impossibly beautiful, impossibly familiar woman who should have been nothing more than a line on an HR form. But wasn't. The next morning, Emilia arrived at the office an hour earlier than usual. She needed space. Silence. She needed to think. Her heels echoed through the marble corridors like accusations. She was halfway through her first coffee when there was a knock on her door. Not Charlotte's usual rhythmic tap. This was softer. Cautious. She already knew who it was. Come in, she said, too quietly. Celeste stepped inside. She wore dark slacks, a cream blouse, and that same sense of stillness that somehow rattled Emilia more than any chaos could. She closed the door behind her, but didn't approach the desk. I know we crossed a line, she said gently. And if you need distance, I'll respect that. Emilia stood, her hands resting flat on the glass desk. You're not the problem. Then what is? I am, Emilia said. This, whatever this is, it's dangerous for both of us. You know that. Because I work for you? Celeste asked. Because I make you feel something you can't control? Emilia's jaw clenched. It's not professional. Neither is dreaming about me, Celeste replied, taking a slow step forward. And yet here we are. Celeste, I'm not asking you to risk your company or your name. I'm asking you to be honest. With yourself. With me. Emilia didn't speak. Her throat was tight, her pulse a thunder behind her ears. Celeste stepped closer. Do you want me to stop? Emilia looked at her then, really looked, at the softness behind her strength, at the rawness barely hidden behind her calm. She had wanted a distraction. Celeste was not that. She was a revelation, a mirror, a fire. Emilia didn't move. I want you to come to dinner, she said finally. Celeste's eyebrows lifted slightly. Tonight? Emilia nodded once. My place. 7. Private. And if I say yes, is this dinner? It's not a game, Emilia said, voice low. It's not casual. Not for me. Celeste smiled. Not smug, not coy, just something real. Then I'll be there. She turned and walked out, leaving the door half open, leaving Amelia standing there, hands still flat on the desk, trying not to let the panic eat her alive. At 6:45, Amelia's penthouse was silent. She had changed out of her work attire into something soft, black slacks, a silk blouse that clung a little too much at the waist. She told herself it was nothing. Just dinner. Just a talk. But she had set the table. Lit candles. Even cooked. Not something extravagant. Roasted vegetables. Wine. Her favorite saffron rice recipe. It felt intimate. Exposing. At 6:58, the doorbell rang. When Amelia opened it, Celeste stood there in a long navy coat, her hair pinned up, a bottle of wine in hand. Underneath, she wore a soft charcoal dress that hugged her curves and left Amelia momentarily speechless. I didn't want to come empty-handed, she said, lifting the bottle. You didn't have to bring anything. I wanted to, Celeste replied. You dreamed of me. The least I can do is bring wine. Amelia stepped aside, letting her in. The door closed with a soft click behind them. They ate slowly.
Talked.
Really talked. About design, travel, their favorite cities. Celeste confessed she had once hitchhiked through the Italian coast, just for the adventure. Amelia admitted she hated the term girl boss and never liked the word powerful unless it came with respect. The atmosphere shifted as the night deepened. More than flirtation now. More than chemistry. A tension that had matured into something intimate, careful, aching. After the plates were cleared, they stood by the window, the skyline glittering below. You're not what I expected, Amelia said. Celeste tilted her head. What did you expect? I don't know. Someone I could forget. Celeste stepped closer. Do you want to forget me? No, Amelia admitted, barely audible. But I might have to.
Why?
Because once I let you in, her voice caught. I don't think I'll be able to let you go. Celeste reached out slowly, her fingers brushing Amelia's jaw. Then don't. Amelia leaned into her touch, eyes closing. Stay, she whispered. Celeste's hand slipped behind her neck, pulling her gently into another kiss, this one slower, deeper. Not rushed. Not stolen. Chosen. When they broke apart, Amelia's voice was barely a breath. I don't want this to be temporary. Neither do I, Celeste said. So, let's not pretend it is. And this time, when their mouths met, it wasn't a secret or a mistake. It was the beginning of something they both knew would change them forever. Morning came softly, the light pouring through the floor-to-ceiling windows in golden streaks that painted over Amelia's white sheets, over her bare shoulder, over the tangled silhouette beside her.
Celeste.
Her breath was slow and even, still caught in the rhythm of sleep. One arm draped across Amelia's waist, her face turned toward her, lips slightly parted. Amelia didn't move.
Couldn't.
She lay there, wide awake, eyes fixed on the ceiling, trying to make sense of the night that had just rewritten everything she thought she knew about herself. They hadn't planned for it to go that far. It was supposed to be dinner. Conversation. A kiss or two, maybe. But it hadn't been soft. It hadn't been gentle. It had been slow-burning need igniting into a flame neither of them had any interest in extinguishing. Celeste had touched her like she already knew every part of her. Like she had memorized her in dreams, then come to life just to finish the story. And Amelia had let her. Had wanted it. Had come undone beneath her like she hadn't let herself do in years. But now the sun was up. Reality, with all its harsh edges, was coming back. She reached for her phone on the nightstand. 10 missed emails. 3 meeting reminders. 1 message from Charlotte. Reminder. Exec briefing at 9 a.m. Paris team joining live. Amelia sighed quietly and finally turned her head. Celeste was awake, watching her. Good morning, Celeste whispered, voice thick with sleep. Is it? Amelia asked softly. Celeste's brow furrowed. Are you okay? Amelia hesitated. I don't know how to do this. Do what? Wake up with someone like you and pretend it won't change everything. Celeste leaned up on one elbow, sheets slipping down to reveal the curve of her shoulder. Then don't pretend. Just let it change things. It's not that simple. Why not? Amelia sat up slowly, gathering the sheet around herself like armor. Because I have a board to answer to. Investors. HR policies.
Eyes on me all the time.
You don't understand the pressure I'm under. You're right, Celeste said gently. I don't. But I do know what it's like to want something so badly it terrifies you. Amelia looked down at her hands. You terrify me. Celeste smiled, soft and sad. You terrify me too. A long pause stretched between them. Then Amelia stood. I have to get ready for work. I figured, Celeste said, sitting up slowly, reaching for her dress. Do you want me to leave first? Amelia didn't answer immediately. Yes, she said at last. But not because I want you to, because I need to think. Celeste nodded, dressed without another word. Before she left, she paused by the door. Whatever you decide.
I meant what I said.
I don't want this to be temporary. Amelia didn't respond. The door clicked shut behind her. Work was a blur. Amelia kept her expression cold, her tone neutral. No one noticed anything was off, except Charlotte, who gave her a strange look more than once. Celeste kept her distance. She worked with Jasmine, ate lunch at her desk, avoided the executive floor. But their eyes still found each other, across hallways, in reflection, through glass. Every glance was a ghost of the night they'd spent tangled together, whispering things neither had said out loud in years. That Friday, a sudden email from the board's chair arrived. Amelia's heart dropped. Internal review, executive employee conduct policy, urgent update required. Meeting scheduled. Her fingers went cold. It couldn't be related. No one knew. They had been careful, hadn't they? Her mind spiraled, jumping from worst-case scenario to worse. That evening, she left the office late, exhausted, head pounding. She walked aimlessly for blocks before she realized where she was going. Celeste's building. She didn't call, didn't text, just stood there in front of the door, like a woman with no plan. When Celeste opened it, her surprise quickly melted into concern. Are you okay? Amelia didn't answer. Not with words. She stepped forward, kissed her, soft, slow, different from the night before. No fire this time. Just longing. Celeste pulled her inside, held her close, guided her to the couch. They sat in silence for a long while, Celeste running her fingers through Amelia's hair as Amelia leaned against her, closed her eyes, and breathed. I don't know how to protect this, Amelia said eventually. And I don't want to lose you in the process. Then don't, Celeste whispered. We'll figure it out. Together. Amelia looked at her. You'd stay even if this gets complicated? Celeste met her gaze, firm and unshaken. Especially if it gets complicated. And for the first time in days, Amelia let herself believe this could be more than a dream. It was strange, Amelia thought, how quickly a space could start to feel like safety. Celeste's apartment was modest compared to the marble and glass coldness of Amelia's penthouse, smaller, older, imperfect, but it smelled faintly of bergamot and something floral, and the couch was soft, lived in, shaped to the curve of someone's body over time. It didn't feel like an escape. It felt like an exhale. Amelia lay curled against Celeste, her head tucked beneath the woman's chin, eyes closed, listening to the slow rhythm of her breath. No one had ever held her like this without asking for anything in return, without expectation, without an angle. I think I've spent so long building walls I forgot how to rest, Amelia murmured. Celeste's fingers moved slowly through her hair. Then rest here. I don't deserve this. You don't have to. Amelia stayed there a little longer, sinking into the warmth and silence. When she finally sat up, Celeste pulled a blanket around her shoulders and didn't press. They shared a quiet dinner, takeout, eaten with mismatched forks and paper napkins, and talked. Not about work, not about the board or HR or the endless pressure waiting outside that door. They talked about books, about Emilia's childhood in Vienna, about Celeste's habit of sketching strangers in cafes just to imagine their lives. They laughed. Emilia actually laughed, freely, openly. When Celeste got up to grab tea, Emilia walked into the bedroom, not intending to stay. But something pulled her. She sat on the edge of the bed, scanning the room. It was soft, feminine, full of small, quiet details. A framed drawing sat on the dresser, one Emilia recognized instantly. It was a profile of her. From the dreams. Unmistakably her. The curve of her cheek, the tilt of her head, the exact expression she'd seen in the mirror when waking up breathless. She turned as Celeste entered the room with 2 mugs. Her eyes widened when she saw what Emilia was holding. "You weren't supposed to see that." Emilia's voice was barely a whisper. "You drew this before we met." Celeste nodded slowly. "Months before. I didn't understand it. I thought I was losing my mind. But I kept dreaming of you, always the same face, the same eyes. I drew you over and over again, trying to let it go. And then you walked into that office." Emilia stared at the drawing. "It wasn't just me dreaming." "No," Celeste stepped closer. "I know how insane it sounds, but somehow we dreamed of each other. That's not coincidence." "No," Celeste whispered. "It's something else." Emilia looked at her, searching. "Fate. Maybe. Or maybe it's just the kind of connection that refuses to be ignored." The air between them thickened, and Emilia closed the distance, setting the drawing aside. She kissed Celeste, slow and unhurried.
There was no urgency this time.
Only need. Only trust. They undressed each other in silence, not with frantic hands but reverence. As if this moment was sacred. As if they were rediscovering something they had already lived in dreams. When Emilia lay beneath her, eyes locked, breath shaky, it wasn't lust that filled the space between them. It was something deeper. Something terrifying in its honesty. And when Celeste whispered her name like a prayer against her skin, Emilia didn't run. She let herself feel it. All of it. The next morning, Emilia woke to the smell of coffee. She pulled on one of Celeste's oversized shirts and padded barefoot into the kitchen. Celeste was there, back turned, humming softly, pouring 2 cups. "You're domestic," Emilia said, voice still rough with sleep. "Don't tell anyone," Celeste said with a smirk. "I have a reputation to protect." Emilia smiled and accepted the cup. They sat at the tiny table, legs brushing under the surface, everything easy in a way Emilia hadn't known she was capable of. But the moment couldn't last.
Her phone buzzed.
She didn't want to look, but she did. A message from Charlotte. "Board review, pushed to Monday morning. Also, rumor mill is circling something about you and someone in design. Just FYI." Emilia's stomach dropped. Celeste noticed. "Bad news." "Not yet, but it's coming." Celeste set her mug down carefully. "We knew it would." Emilia looked at her. "I don't want you to get caught in this." "Then don't push me away. Let's face it together." Emilia hesitated. "I've always been alone at the top. Then maybe it's time to stop being." Later that night, back in her penthouse, Emilia stood alone in front of her office window. Her city, her empire. And for the first time, she questioned if she could really protect both her crown and her heart. Because if she had to choose, she already knew which one she couldn't afford to lose. The boardroom had never felt smaller. Emilia sat at the head of the long, gleaming table, shoulders squared, expression unreadable, while 12 pairs of eyes stared back at her, some curious, others cold, and a few clearly sharpening knives behind polite smiles. The meeting was already halfway through. The agenda said internal policy review, but everyone in the room knew exactly why they were here. The rumors had done their job. Whispers had turned into questions. And questions, in the hands of board members with too much power and too little imagination, had turned into threats. "We've received some informal feedback," one of them began, Mr. Langston, gray suit, sharper tongue. "Concerns about blurred lines between leadership and staff. A growing sense of impropriety." Emilia didn't blink. "And have any of those concerns been substantiated?" Not formally, he said, tone condescending. But as you know, perception often precedes proof, especially in the media, especially with figures as visible as yourself. Amelia's jaw tightened. Then perhaps the issue is with perception, not policy. Langston offered a thin smile. You've built an empire on elegance and control, Miss Hartman. We'd hate to see that compromised by personal entanglements.
A pause. Sharp.
Telling. Amelia felt the shift under her skin, the heat of anger, of fear, of something ancient inside her rising to protect what mattered. But what mattered now wasn't just her company.
It was Celeste.
And the very idea of losing her, of letting this table of suits dictate what she could and couldn't feel, was enough to make her voice cut through the room like glass. If there's no formal accusation, she said, standing slowly, then this conversation ends here. I won't apologize for speculation. I won't validate gossip. And I certainly won't let anyone in this room weaponize my private life to undermine what I've built. We're not your enemies, Amelia. Another board member said gently. Monica, the only one who ever used her first name. We're just trying to protect the brand. Amelia looked around the table, her gaze calm, almost pitying. The brand is me, and I am not afraid. She walked out before anyone could respond. That night, Celeste found her pacing the rooftop of the Hartman building, wind pulling at her coat, hair wild around her face. So, Celeste said softly. It started. Amelia turned. There were dark circles under her eyes, but her presence was still electric. They didn't name you. Not directly. But they know something. Celeste stepped forward. What are you going to do? I don't know, Amelia admitted. They can't fire me, but they can make my life a war. Then let it be, Celeste said. We fight. We don't hide. Amelia looked at her, really looked. Are you sure? I've never been more. Amelia stepped into her arms, pressing her forehead to Celeste's. You're brave. I'm in love. The words hung in the air between them, too big and too honest to ignore. Amelia froze. Her breath caught. Say it again. Celeste smiled. I'm in love with you. Amelia closed her eyes. The world stilled. You ruin all my defenses, she whispered.
Good.
You complicate everything. Worth it. Amelia opened her eyes, and what Celeste saw there was no longer fear. It was love. Quiet, fierce, undeniable. I love you too. The next few weeks were a blur of tension. Rumors grew. People whispered. HR began an internal audit. A few executives walked with too much self-righteousness. Jasmine, however, only raised an eyebrow when she caught Amelia watching Celeste too long during a sketch review and said nothing, just smirked and kept flipping pages. But something else shifted too. Celeste didn't falter. Her work shone. She didn't flirt, didn't hide, but she didn't deny anything either. She moved with confidence, with poise, with the quiet certainty of someone who had nothing to be ashamed of. The team respected her, admired her, and slowly, without anyone naming it, the energy shifted. People stopped whispering, stopped watching. They just accepted. And maybe that was the most radical thing of all. One evening, weeks after the boardroom showdown, Amelia returned home late to find her penthouse filled with candlelight. Soft music played. Celeste stood barefoot in the kitchen, cooking something that smelled like rosemary and garlic. You broke into my apartment? Amelia asked, setting down her bag. You gave me a key, Celeste said. You never used it. I was waiting for the right moment. Amelia crossed the room slowly, wrapped her arms around her from behind, and kissed her shoulder. This is it. Celeste turned. I have something for you. Another dream drawing?
No.
Something real this time. She reached into her coat and handed Amelia a small velvet box. Amelia opened it slowly. Inside was a key. To my place, Celeste said. So, you know you always have somewhere to go that's not just made of glass and pressure. Amelia looked up, eyes glassy. I've never had that before. Now you do. For the first time in years, Amelia Hartman woke up without reaching for her phone. No emails. No alerts. No calendar reminders waiting to sink their claws into her skin before her feet even touched the floor. Instead, she woke to warmth. A real, living warmth. Celeste's body curled against hers beneath soft cotton sheets, their legs tangled, the morning light filtering through linen curtains that muted the city into a distant hush. Emilia kept her eyes closed for a while, letting herself exist in that rarest of spaces, the in-between. Between obligation and desire. Between past and present. Between the woman she had trained herself to be, and the one she was slowly becoming in Celeste's arms. "Are you awake?" Celeste's voice, sleep-rough and close to her ear. "Barely," Emilia murmured. "Good. Then I can pretend this is real for a few more minutes." Emilia opened her eyes, turned to face her. "It is real." Celeste smiled faintly. "You say that like you believe it." "I'm trying." Celeste reached out and brushed her fingers along Emilia's collarbone. "You don't have to try so hard with me." And just like that, the weight she carried daily, expectation, control, perfection lessened. Even if just for a moment. After a quiet breakfast and a soft goodbye, Emilia returned to her penthouse alone. She needed to think about the board, about the growing murmurs in the office that refused to die completely, about what it meant to truly love someone in her world, where love came with consequences and visibility often meant vulnerability. She stood in front of her full-length mirror, dressed already in tailored navy pants and a silk blouse, hair pinned back, face flawless. She looked like a woman with power, but something about her eyes was softer now, less armored. She checked her watch, took a breath, and called Charlotte. "I need to reschedule my lunch with the Van Leons," she said. "Push it to next week." "Sure," Charlotte said without missing a beat. "Do you need coverage for anything urgent?"
No.
"I'm heading to the design floor." "Understood." Emilia hung up and took the elevator down. The studio was quieter than usual. Most of the senior team was off-site preparing for the next campaign rollout. Celeste sat alone near the far windows, sketching on a wide sheet of vellum. Her hair was loose today, a soft wave falling over one shoulder. Emilia stood silently, watching her for a full minute before approaching. "You're making it harder to stay professional," she said quietly. Celeste looked up, a slow smile spreading across her face. "That's not my fault." "No." Emilia tilted her head. "Then what do you call showing up to work looking like that?" "Prepared," Celeste said, turning slightly in her seat. "To be noticed. Dangerous game, Monroe." "You already lost it," Celeste murmured. "Twice." Emilia swallowed. "I should walk away right now." "Then why don't you?" Emilia sat beside her, their knees barely touching. "Because I miss you the second we're apart." Celeste leaned closer, not touching, but close enough to feel her heat. "Then stop pretending we only exist after hours." Emilia reached into her coat pocket, pulled something out, and placed it on the table between them. Her own house key. "This doesn't fix everything," Emilia said. "But it's a start." Celeste blinked, then smiled slowly. "You're letting me in. More than anyone ever has." "I'll be careful," Celeste whispered. "You don't have to be." Emilia's phone buzzed. She ignored it. For once, she chose to be present. For once, she chose love. That night, Emilia opened her calendar. She scrolled past meetings, deadlines, expansions, flights. It all looked flat, meaningless. She clicked a blank space. Created a new event. Title: Be with her. Repeat. Daily. No time set. No end date. 2 days later, the consequences arrived. Charlotte entered her office unannounced, holding a sealed envelope. Her face was unreadable. "This came for you." Direct from the board. Emilia took it slowly, slit the envelope open with a letter opener she rarely used. A single sheet inside. Official. Cold. Measured. Due to growing concern regarding potential conflict of interest between CEO Emilia Hartmann and a junior employee within the design division, an emergency review has been approved. Until the matter is resolved, Ms. Hartmann will be placed under temporary oversight. All internal projects involving said employee will be reassigned. Emilia's heart didn't race. Her fingers didn't tremble, but something inside her went still. Charlotte watched her for a long moment. Want me to find out who pushed this through? No, Emilia said, folding the letter. I already know. That evening, she met Celeste at their usual place, a quiet rooftop, away from company eyes, away from the buzz of Manhattan. Celeste took one look at her face and knew. What happened? They're pushing me out. Quietly. Not officially. But enough to remind me who holds the leash. They can't remove you. They can humiliate me. Strip my decisions. Control what I touch. Because of me. Because I stopped hiding. Celeste stepped closer. Do you regret it? Emilia looked at her. Really looked.
No.
Not for a second. Then let them try. Emilia smiled, faint, tired, but defiant. I have a plan. Of course you do. But I need you to trust me. Celeste's eyes didn't waver. I already do. The storm didn't come all at once. It built slowly, like a crack deep beneath the foundation of something grand, unseen, ignored, until the pressure became too much and the whole structure began to tremble. Emilia could feel the tremor in everything. Her inbox was colder. Meetings felt more crowded, more tense. People greeted her with that careful, clipped tone reserved for someone under scrutiny. The smile without smiling kind. It didn't matter that she still sat at the head of every table. It didn't matter that she had built this empire from nothing, turned Hartmann Lux into one of the most coveted design houses on both sides of the Atlantic. The moment she let herself fall in love, the vultures started circling. She knew they wouldn't dare fire her outright. That would be suicide for the brand. But strip her authority, clip her power, reassign her decisions piece by piece until she became a figurehead. Yes, that was the quieter war they were waging. And they were smart about it. Passive. Strategic. Cowardly. On Tuesday, the Milan launch she'd been planning for over a year was handed to a board liaison for optics. On Wednesday, her input on the couture line was postponed until the next review cycle. By Friday, even Charlotte, loyal, perceptive Charlotte, was being fed half-truths by the board directly, and Emilia could see the concern growing behind her composed expression. You can't fight them all at once, Charlotte told her quietly one afternoon, eyes flicking to the glass door. You need allies. I don't want allies who watched me build this and are now pretending I didn't, Emilia replied. I want truth. I want loyalty. Charlotte hesitated. Then you should talk to Jasmine. Emilia arched an eyebrow. Jasmine? She's been vocal. She asked why Celeste was removed from the jewelry team.
Loudly.
In front of the wrong people. Emilia's lips curved faintly. Maybe the right ones. That night, Emilia met Celeste in the apartment they now quietly shared, though neither of them had officially said it out loud. There was no ceremony, no grand announcement, just toothbrushes side by side, a closet slowly invaded by soft sweaters, 2 coffee mugs permanently left in the sink. How bad is it? Celeste asked before Emilia could say a word. They've boxed me in, Emilia replied. But they underestimated one thing. What's that? Emilia leaned against the kitchen counter, arms crossed. I don't break. I don't run. And I don't fall quietly. Celeste watched her for a moment. What's your plan? I'm going to remind them that I'm not here because I was given power. I built it. I earned it. And I can rebuild it again without them if I have to. Celeste stepped closer. You don't have to do this alone. No, Emilia whispered, cupping her cheek. I have you. That night, they didn't make love with the urgency of secret passion or forbidden tension. They moved slowly, reverently. It was the kind of intimacy that comes not from desperation, but from choice. From staying. From loving someone in the full light of day and not needing to hide. Emilia traced every inch of Celeste's skin like she was memorizing a promise. And Celeste whispered her name like it meant home. Monday morning, Emilia entered the boardroom before anyone else. She placed a single black folder at every seat. Each one contained a portfolio, a new collection concept, a proposed expansion into Seoul, a shift in marketing strategy, and a restructured hierarchy that placed more authority in the hands of the design leads, cutting through the politics that had stifled creative teams for too long. But the piece de resistance sat at the end of each folder. A letter.
Clear.
Unapologetic. A declaration. To preserve the integrity of this company and those who serve it, I will not step down. I will not disown the woman I love. If forced to choose between the brand and honesty, I will always choose truth. If the board insists on continuing down this path, I will walk away and take my name, my vision, and the heart of this empire with me.
You do not own me.
You do not own Hartman. I do. She didn't wait for them to read it in front of her. She left the room before the first page was turned. By noon, her phone rang. Monica. They're in chaos, she said. Half of them want to play hardball. The other half are panicking. Let them. I read your proposal. It's brilliant, bold, arrogant as hell, but that's what built this place. You scared them. I hope so. What if they call your bluff? Amelia looked out the window of her office, down at the city she once conquered and now might have to fight for again. Then I walk. And I rebuild. With what? Monica asked. With her, Amelia replied. Later that night, Amelia returned home to find Celeste sitting on the floor, surrounded by candles and sketchbooks. Did you mean it? Celeste asked without looking up. That you'd walk away? Amelia dropped to her knees in front of her. I've already walked away from everything that doesn't feel like love. You're the only thing I won't let go of. Celeste took her face in her hands. Then whatever comes next, we face it together. Together, Amelia whispered, and kissed her like she was choosing her for the 1,000th time. The board took 42 hours to respond. Amelia didn't wait for them. She continued working as if nothing had changed, because, for her, it hadn't. Her resolve was fixed. Her choice made. She was no longer operating from fear or caution, and that terrified them more than any press leak ever could. When the email finally came, it wasn't from Langston or any of the usual puppeteers behind the curtain. It was from Monica. The subject line was blank. The body of the message contained only one sentence. Private meeting. Tomorrow. 8 a.m. No time to prepare. No allies invited. No agenda. Just her. Just them. Amelia closed her laptop and didn't react. She went home, where Celeste was curled on the sofa, sketching with one hand and sipping wine with the other. They've called a meeting, Amelia said softly. Celeste didn't look up. Of course they have. Tomorrow morning. And what are you going to do? The same thing I've been doing since the day you walked into my life, Amelia said, stepping closer. Refuse to hide. Celeste looked up at her then, eyes warm and unwavering. Then wear the navy suit. The one that makes you look like you own the sky. Amelia smiled. You think I don't already? The boardroom was colder than usual. Not in temperature, but in atmosphere. The air felt still, suffocating, like the moment before a thunderstorm. All 12 board members were seated when she arrived. She wore the navy suit. No jewelry. No makeup beyond her signature red lipstick, a shade Celeste had once said made her look like danger. She took her seat at the head of the table. No one spoke for a full minute. Then Monica broke the silence. We've reviewed your proposal. Amelia remained quiet. We're split. Monica glanced down the table. 6 votes for full implementation. 5 against. 1 abstention. Langston shifted in his seat, jaw tight. Amelia didn't blink. That means the proposal stands. It means the company stands with you. For now. For always, Amelia corrected. Because if you ever try to undermine my leadership again, if you ever treat my personal life as a liability instead of recognizing that vulnerability is part of power, I will walk. And this company will follow me. Langston scoffed. You think Hartman Lux belongs to you? Amelia leaned forward, her voice cool and deadly. It is me. Without me, it's just marble and glass and frightened men with no vision. No one responded. Monica nodded once. The matter is closed. Amelia stood. No. It's just beginning. By noon, the announcement went public. Hartmann Lux had approved a bold restructuring of creative leadership, placing more authority into the hands of its senior designers and expanding global influence, with a new studio opening in Seoul. But buried in the fine print, strategically, quietly, was a clause that redefined internal policy regarding executive relationships. As long as transparency and professional boundaries were maintained, consensual relationships would no longer be considered conflicts of interest. Emilia read the final version with a quiet sort of pride. She'd done it. Without press. Without spectacle. Without apology. And she hadn't lost Celeste. That night, she invited the design team to a private celebration. No board members. No sponsors.
Just her people.
The ones who had built this place beside her. When she stepped onto the small balcony of the rooftop venue, champagne in hand, the sun was setting behind her. Celeste joined her, wearing a satin jumpsuit in deep burgundy that made Emilia's breath catch. "You did it," Celeste said. "We did. Do you feel like yourself again?" Emilia turned to her.
No.
"I feel better. Stronger. Like I don't have to divide myself anymore. I don't have to be two women." "You never did," Celeste said, brushing a strand of hair from Emilia's face. "You just needed someone to remind you. You reminded me the second I dreamed of you." After the party, they returned home together, tipsy, warm, glowing with something greater than victory. Emilia pulled Celeste into the bedroom, kissed her slowly, unzipped the jumpsuit with fingers that trembled just enough to betray how deeply she still felt it all. Every touch. Every moment. Every choice. They made love with the door open, the lights on, the world fully aware now, but neither of them cared. There was no more shame, no more secrecy, only the sound of breath and whispered names and the heartbeat of something they had fought too hard to ever let go. Later, curled together beneath soft sheets, Celeste whispered, "You're not the woman I imagined."
No.
Emilia murmured, lips brushing her shoulder. "You're more. Stronger. Wilder. Softer." Emilia smiled against her skin. "You dreamed of me. I became real. Now I'm dreaming of a future with you." Celeste turned to her arms, eyes wide, startled but glowing. "A future?" "Yes," Emilia said. "Something permanent. Something that doesn't end when the lights go out or the company decides I'm no longer convenient." "You're talking about forever." "I'm talking about love. About building a life. About waking up next to you without wondering who we have to hide from today." Celeste's eyes shimmered. "Then promise me." "I promise," Emilia said, and kissed her like every vow she had never dared to make was finally safe in someone else's hands. 3 weeks had passed since the boardroom vote, and yet everything felt different. Not just in the office, though that had certainly shifted, but within Emilia herself. There was a weight missing from her chest, a lightness in her stride that even Charlotte, ever professional, couldn't help but comment on one morning as she entered Emilia's office. "You're smiling," she said, arching a brow. Emilia didn't look up from her tablet. "So, you never smile before coffee." Emilia smirked. "Maybe the world changed. Or maybe you did." Emilia didn't answer. She didn't need to. Everyone could see it. Her armor wasn't gone, but it had softened. And the reason why had become common knowledge, albeit unspoken. Whispers of her and Celeste were everywhere, but no one dared treat it like scandal anymore. Not after the restructuring. Not after the way Emilia had faced down the board without flinching. And certainly not after seeing Celeste in meetings. Confident, focused, radiant. She didn't coast on her proximity to power. She worked. She impressed. She held her own. Their relationship didn't exist in stolen glances anymore. It lived in the way Emilia lingered near the design floor a little longer than necessary. In the quiet moments, Celeste would rest her hand on Emilia's wrist before leaving the room. In the way both women carried themselves, not hidden but never performative. Just real. Their nights, once cautious and loaded with tension, had evolved into a kind of sacred rhythm. Emilia found herself coming home early for the first time in years. Not because she had to, because she wanted to. because the sound of keys turning in the lock and Celeste's voice greeting her from the kitchen had become her new peace. One Thursday evening, Emilia arrived to find the apartment filled with the smell of sage and something warm, baking maybe. Celeste had her hair tied up messily, barefoot in an oversized shirt, humming off-key to an old French song playing on the record player. "You cook now?" Emilia asked, setting down her bag. "I do everything," Celeste teased. "Tonight, rosemary focaccia and this little mushroom risotto recipe I've been perfecting." Emilia crossed the room slowly, eyes never leaving her. "You're ridiculous. And you love it." "I do." Celeste turned around, hands flour-dusted, and Emilia kissed her without hesitation, without pause. They laughed into each other's mouths, the scent of herbs and love thick in the air. Later, after dinner and wine and a slow dance in the living room for no reason at all, Celeste sat on the rug, sketching. "What are you drawing?" Emilia asked, resting her chin on Celeste's shoulder. "The future," Celeste said. Emilia smiled. "What does it look like?" Celeste flipped the sketchbook toward her. It was them. A garden terrace. A little studio in the corner. A sleeping dog. 2 cups of coffee on a table. Simple, she added. But ours. Emilia stared at the page. Something inside her swelled. "Do you want that with me?" "I've only ever wanted it with you." "Then let's build it."
How?
Emilia stood, went to her desk, and returned with a small envelope. She handed it to Celeste. "What's this?" "Something I should have done weeks ago." Inside, a formal offer. Promotion. Full lead on the upcoming couture line. A permanent position, no more temporary contracts, no more review periods. Authority. Respect. "You deserve this," Emilia said. "Not because you're with me, but because you've earned it." Celeste blinked at the paper, then at Emilia. "You're not afraid of what they'll say?" "They've already said it all. And I'm still here. So are you." "You really meant it," Celeste whispered. "Every word." Emilia dropped to her knees in front of her. "I meant it when I chose you. I meant it when I stood up for you. I meant it when I said I wanted forever. And now." Emilia took her hand. "Now I mean this." She reached into her blazer pocket and pulled out a ring. Simple. Elegant. A soft gold band with a tiny engraving inside. "Dreams know the way." Celeste gasped. Emilia held her gaze, steady and sure. "I dreamed of you. You dreamed of me. And I don't want to keep dreaming without you in my real life. So marry me." Silence. Breathless. Thick with emotion. Celeste's eyes welled, and she nodded before her voice could find her. "Yes," she whispered.
God, yes.
Emilia slipped the ring on her finger, then kissed her slow, deep, anchoring them both to this moment. No secrets. No shame. Just 2 women, in love, in power, in control of their own story. The next day, Charlotte entered Emilia's office, blinking in surprise at the large bouquet on her desk. "Celebrating something?" she asked. Emilia glanced up from her computer. "Yes." "What is it?" Emilia looked down at the screen, where Celeste's latest designs were displayed, glowing with brilliance. The future. Rain fell in a slow, steady rhythm against the glass walls of the penthouse, turning the city lights into blurred streaks of gold and silver. Emilia stood barefoot in the living room, one hand holding a glass of wine, the other resting gently over her abdomen like she was trying to ground herself. The proposal had been accepted. The ring was on Celeste's finger. But reality, with all its weight, was beginning to settle on her chest like fog rolling in after fireworks. They were engaged. They were in love. And the world still had teeth. Celeste entered from the hallway wrapped in one of Emilia's robes, her hair damp from the shower, eyes warm and sleepy. "You're thinking again," she said gently. Emilia didn't deny it. "It's what I do." Celeste walked over, took the wine from her hand, and set it on the table. "Want to tell me what's going on in there?" Emilia hesitated. "You ever worry we moved too fast?" "No," Celeste said immediately. "But I know you do." Emilia nodded once, her voice low. "Not because I don't want this. but because I've never let myself want anything this much before. And now that I have it, the thought of losing it scares you, terrifies me. Celeste took her hands. I can't promise the world will be kind to us, but I can promise I won't run. No matter how loud it gets out there, in here, I'm staying. Amelia leaned into her, closing her eyes. You make it sound easy. It's not, but it's simple. The following week was a blur of quiet planning. They didn't announce the engagement publicly yet,
But they shared it with those closest to them.
Charlotte was the first to know, of course. Her reaction was exactly what Amelia expected. A blink, a slow smile, and a single raised brow before she said, "Well, it's about damn time." Jasmine cried, then threatened to throw them both a chaotic, overly floral engagement party. They politely declined. Amelia and Celeste wanted something else. Something smaller.
Just theirs.
They spent nights curled up on the couch, debating everything from wedding dates to honeymoon destinations to where they'd eventually live. Amelia's penthouse was grand, sleek, but sterile. Celeste's apartment was warm, lived in but small. So they searched, quietly, privately, together. And one Sunday afternoon, they found it, a townhouse tucked between quiet trees in Brooklyn Heights, all soft brick, curved archways, and ivy climbing the walls like something out of a forgotten novel. Amelia stepped through the door and felt something deep in her chest ease. It feels like home, Celeste finished, slipping her hand into Amelia's. They bought it without hesitation. But not everyone celebrated. The board remained quiet, restrained. Supportive on paper, distant in practice. They no longer pushed back, but the silence was its own kind of punishment. Amelia noticed it in the way certain partners responded slower to her emails, in how some investors began requesting second opinions from her team instead of speaking to her directly. It wasn't a scandal, they wouldn't dare make it one. But it was subtle. Death by 1,000 paper cuts. And it only got worse when a tabloid leaked a photo of her and Celeste holding hands outside a restaurant in Soho. The headline was simple. Hartman's heart. Power couple or PR gamble? It could have been worse. It could have been cruel. But Amelia saw what it was meant to do. Stirred out. Challenged the legitimacy of her leadership. Celeste saw it too. She brought the article to Amelia without anger, without panic, just quiet concern. "We knew this would come," Celeste said softly. "They're trying to spin it." "They always will," Amelia replied. "It's what happens when a woman dares to have everything. Do you want me to lay low for a while? Skip the next launch?" Amelia's jaw tightened. "Absolutely not. You earned your place." "Then let them watch," Celeste whispered, folding the article and tossing it into the fireplace. "Let them see us stand still." Despite the pressure, their love didn't weaken, it matured. No longer fiery desperation in secret shadows, it became something stronger, steadier. The kind of love that knew when to speak and when to listen, when to press, and when to simply hold. They started designing together, just for fun, at first. Amelia would sketch silhouettes, and Celeste would add emotional detail, textures, color theory. One night, they realized they had accidentally created an entire capsule collection, 12 pieces that told a story without words. A story about survival, surrender, and choosing love over fear. "We should present this," Celeste said, fingers grazing the edges of her sketchbook. "As what?" Amelia asked. "A wedding gift," Celeste replied. "To each other. To the world." The next day, Amelia called a press conference. She didn't do it for damage control. Not this time. She did it because she was tired of allowing others to write her narrative. The stage was simple, neutral, elegant. She stood at the center, wearing a tailored suit in charcoal, no jewelry except a slim gold band on her right hand. No flash. Just clarity. "I've spent my entire career being told what a woman like me can't do," she said calmly. "That I can't lead and feel. That I can't love and hold power. That I can't build an empire and protect the heart that beats at the center of it. But I'm standing here, not in spite of my love, but because of it. And if the price of honesty is discomfort, I'll pay it. Every time." Cameras flashed. The room stayed silent. Then, applause. A slow build. A quiet surge.
Real.
That night, Celeste met her at the new townhouse, barefoot, candlelit, a bottle of wine already open. Emilia dropped her bag and crossed the room in seconds, pulling her into a kiss, so deep it felt like a vow. They listened, she whispered. More importantly, Celeste replied, you spoke. I didn't just speak. I claimed it. All of it. Celeste smiled, brushing her fingers down Emilia's cheek. So claim me. Emilia lifted her onto the kitchen counter and did just that, with hands that knew every curve, every sigh, every yes. There were no masks left between them. No silence. No hiding. Just love, bold, burning, and entirely theirs. The air inside the Hartmann Luxe flagship showroom felt charged, like static before a storm, like breath held just before a confession. The press event had been announced only 72 hours earlier, under a deliberately vague title, The Future of Elegance. No previews. No teasers. No leaks. Emilia wanted silence around this moment, not noise. She wanted the first reaction to be unfiltered. The front row filled with buyers, editors, and critics who'd once whispered about her relationship and now waited with sharpened eyes. Cameras flashed. Everyone searching for a headline before they even saw the first piece. They expected spectacle, but what they got was a story. The lights dimmed. A soft piano melody began. And then the models emerged. No run-of-the-mill designs. No recycled silhouettes. What walked down that runway were ghosts of dreams turned tangible, soft, architectural lines that melted into organic textures, bold cuts softened by romantic draping, color palettes that moved like emotion, restraint in ash gray, longing in blush, courage in deep wine. Each piece spoke without needing words. It was a collection that told the truth. About rebuilding. About risk. About loving a woman so deeply that it changed the shape of the world around you. Celeste sat backstage, headset around her neck, clipboard resting uselessly on her lap. She hadn't spoken for the last 15 minutes. She couldn't. She watched Emilia from behind a curtain, tall, composed, radiant in a black velvet suit as she stood near the final look, eyes locked on the runway. Celeste felt her chest ache in the best way. This wasn't about power. It never had been. It was about claiming space, space for love, for beauty, for softness inside strength. The final model appeared wearing the centerpiece, a tailored ivory suit embroidered with tiny golden constellations, stars and moons and compass points, all hand-stitched over the heart. And when she reached the end of the runway, the room went silent. Then, applause. Not polite. Not obligatory.
Real.
Rising. Thunderous. After the show, Emilia disappeared into interviews, congratulations, promises from buyers, handshakes from skeptics now turned believers. Celeste slipped away, wanting to give her space. But as she rounded the hallway near the private lounge, she felt fingers wrap around her wrist, pulling her gently but firmly into a dark corner. Emilia, breathless, glowing.
Alive.
Where are you going? I figured you'd be swarmed. I don't care. She pressed Celeste against the wall, forehead resting against hers. You did this. We did. No, Emilia said, her voice husky. This collection, this moment, this clarity, it came from you. From your hands. Your love. From your courage, Celeste whispered. Emilia kissed her then, hard, deep, without apology. It was quick, quiet, stolen between walls of glass and velvet, but it pulsed with everything unspoken. I want to marry you soon, Emilia said against her lips. No more waiting. You sure? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. 2 weeks later, they stood under a canopy of olive trees in Tuscany. No press. No guests. Just them. They wore white. Celeste in silk. Emilia in linen. The sun melted gold across their skin. Charlotte officiated, trying not to cry. Jasmine did cry. Openly, loudly, unrepentantly. Vows were handwritten. Simple. Amelia's voice didn't shake once. I dreamed of you before I met you. And now I dream with you, beside you. Every day. I vow to protect the fire in you, to honor your softness, to fight for this love no matter what it costs. Celeste's voice did shake. You are the miracle I never let myself ask for. You're my peace, my chaos, my future. I vow to walk with you, always forward, even when we're scared, especially then. Rings were exchanged. Gold. Identical. Subtle, but undeniable. And when they kissed, it was not a performance. It was relief. Fulfillment.
Truth.
Later that night, they lay in bed inside the stone villa, tangled in white sheets, the windows open to the sound of summer wind and distant laughter. Celeste traced circles on Amelia's bare shoulder. So, Mrs. Hartmann, Amelia smirked. You're not taking my last name? No. I like yours too much. Celeste Hartmann does sound dramatic, she teased. It sounds powerful, Amelia murmured, rolling on top of her. But I like you best when you whisper it into my mouth. Celeste laughed, soft and breathless, pulling her down for a kiss that melted everything else away. There was no longer a line between their love and their lives. No more hiding, no more shame, just the steady, infinite pulse of us. 1 year later, the townhouse on Cranberry Street had grown into something more than a home. It had become a world of its own, a quiet corner of the universe where time bent to accommodate love, creativity, and rituals born from devotion rather than routine. Mornings began with Amelia sitting by the kitchen window, reading emails with one hand and sipping coffee from the mug Celeste always placed beside her without asking. The same mug every day, dark blue, chipped near the rim. Amelia never replaced it. It was imperfect, personal.
Loved.
Celeste sketched near the window in the studio room they had converted from a spare bedroom. She always left the door open. Amelia never entered without knocking. Not out of politeness, but reverence. That room held magic, the kind that had once pulled dreams from paper and brought them to life. The kind that had drawn her across impossible distances and placed her exactly where she belonged. Their life was not extraordinary in the ways others imagined. There were still arguments.
About laundry.
About pasta. About how Celeste always forgot to charge her phone, and Amelia always triple-checked locks like a woman who feared the world might shatter overnight. But the foundation never cracked. Because even in the tension, they reached. Always reached. Don't go to bed angry, Celeste had whispered once, early in their marriage. I'd rather be exhausted and in love than rested and distant. And Amelia had smiled, kissed her in the dark, and whispered back, then let's stay tired together. Professionally, Amelia remained at the helm of Hartmann Luxe, but differently now. She spent more time on the design floor, less in the boardroom. She appointed new executives, mentored young women, pushed for softer leadership and harder boundaries against toxicity. She no longer ran on fear. She led with truth. Celeste, now head of the couture line, had flourished in her own quiet orbit. Her name began to appear in interviews. She rejected every attempt to brand her as the wife of a CEO or the woman behind the woman.
She was not behind.
She was beside. And the world began to see her for who she was. A visionary, an artist, a partner in every sense. On their anniversary, Amelia planned something uncharacteristically whimsical. She woke Celeste at dawn, whispered "pack light," and refused to explain anything further. Hours later, they arrived in the south of France at a restored vineyard-turned-artist retreat. The place smelled of lavender and memory. They spent the day walking barefoot through fields, sipping wine under fig trees, painting on blank canvases without purpose. Amelia hadn't held a brush in over 10 years. That night, beneath an open sky strung with golden lights, they sat alone on a stone terrace, sharing dessert and wine. Celeste wore a white linen dress that barely touched her skin. Amelia wore nothing but admiration in her gaze. You remember the first dream? Celeste asked. Of course. Do you think we knew even then? Amelia set down her glass. I think some part of us did. Some part of me was always waiting for you. Celeste turned toward her, serious now. You changed me. No, Emilia said softly. I saw you. You changed yourself. I just never looked away. When they returned to Brooklyn, the world didn't pause to applaud their love story. There were no parades, no headlines, just traffic, emails, deadlines. But that was the point. They weren't a fairy tale. They were real. And real was better. Emilia came home one Thursday evening, drenched from an unexpected rainstorm. Celeste opened the door, laughing at the sight of her soaked wife. You look like a pissed-off CEO who fell into a fountain. Close, Emilia muttered, stepping out of her shoes. It was a garbage truck splash. Very dignified. Celeste pulled her in by the collar. Still the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. Liar. Wife, Celeste corrected. Big difference. They kissed in the foyer, wet and laughing, the kind of kiss that tastes like home. That weekend, they hosted a dinner. Just 6 people. Friends, old and new. No flash. Just warmth. And after everyone had gone, Emilia stood in the kitchen, drying glasses while Celeste hummed in the background. You know, Emilia said, I spent so long building a world I could control. And now? Celeste asked, leaning against the counter. Emilia looked at her. Now I've built one I want to live in. Celeste smiled. With me. With you, Emilia said. Always with you. And as they turned off the lights and walked up the stairs hand in hand, the rain started again. But this time, it didn't matter. They had weathered every storm, together. And in the quiet that followed, in the small life they had chosen to build out of dreams and daring, the world finally made sense. If you enjoyed this content and want to support the channel in a special way, try clicking the thanks button below. It's the one with the heart and $sign icon. With super thanks, you can make a direct contribution to the channel, which helps me keep creating awesome videos for you.